I did a film with an absolute idiot of a co-star. And this human being was being so insecure and angry because this person couldn't get the scenes out. And I think I was so vulnerable and comfortable that I got screamed at. And I would cry walking off set. This person would literally look at me in front of the whole crew and say, "You call yourself an actor, this is what I have to work with. What is this?" And I stood there just breaking. This happens. But because this person was number one on a call sheet, there was no safety net for me. So no one had my back. And I remember the next day I walked on and I said, "You get off my set." This is the first time I've ever spoken. I remember being so scared. And I looked at this person and I said, "You can F off. I'm going to work towards a tennis ball. I never want to see you again." And then I remember the producers came up and said, "You can't do this to number one. We have to let this person be on set." And I said, "But the person can turn around and I can act to the back head."
Wow.
Hollywood insiders are coming forward to expose Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, accusing them of deception, and the controversy is spiraling out of control. Reports from the Deadpool and Wolverine franchises claim that Ryan Reynolds exerted excessive control over productions, making key creative decisions with a domineering my way or the highway approach. Many cast and crew members have spoken out, calling his behavior shameless and a betrayal of industry trust. Meanwhile, Blake Lively's past actions are resurfacing, with new evidence dating back to 2018, when she was initially cast as the lead in The Husband's Secret, but somehow secured an executive producer credit. Allegations against her go even further. Small business owners from as early as 2014 claim she exploited their designs, took what she wanted, and then ghosted them. Their once adored perfect couple image is crumbling fast. In fact, their alleged actions are so scandalous that it wouldn't be surprising if Netflix turned it into a true crime documentary. But the drama doesn't end there. Lively's ongoing feud with Justin Baldoni is just the tip of the iceberg. Despite portraying themselves as wholesome Hollywood sweethearts, they have been accused of manipulating others, making empty promises, and taking credit for other people's work. And just like that, their carefully crafted public persona is completely shattered. With industry insiders, creatives, and even former friends stepping up to share their experiences, the truth is finally coming to light. So grab your snacks, turn on Do Not Disturb, and let's break down how Hollywood's nicest couple may actually be its most cunning scammers. You might be shocked to learn that Blake Lively's string of questionable decisions began much earlier than expected. Let's take a trip back to 2014, a time when some of you were still glued to Paw Patrol. That year, Blake launched Preserve, a tone-deaf lifestyle brand that attempted to sell overpriced candles, oddly rustic home decor, and random handmade goods that no one really asked for. An article attempting to define Preserve's purpose didn't do much to clear up the confusion. If you read through the explanations, the only real takeaway was that it was just a brand, a lifestyle company focused on selling overpriced, hipster-style trinkets to millennials. And unfortunately, it wasn't a successful one.
28-year-old actress will take down Preserve on October 9th. Blake launched the site in July 2014, but tells Vogue she doesn't want to continue with.
When Preserve flopped in 2015, Blake claimed it failed because it was ahead of its time and launched too soon. But the receipts suggest a very different story. Reports surfaced that she had been ordering samples from small creators under fake names, copying their designs down to the finest detail, and then completely ghosting them once she got what she wanted.
There are growing pains in a startup, but then there are also red flags. And the times, and this applies to filmmaking, to everything, the times where people ignore the red flags and say, let's just keep pushing, those are the times where you fail, where if you see that something's broken, you have to stop and fix it, because once you put it out there, it's so much harder to catch up. So I really think it comes down to quality and conviction.
Just when it seemed like Blake Lively's alleged habit of taking from small creators was limited to Etsy-style shops, a new revelation surfaced, this time involving Hollywood scripts. Now, this next part is one of those industry whispers that never quite made it to major gossip outlets. So take it with a grain of salt. Back in 2017, Blake was cast as the lead in the CBS Films thriller The Husband's Secret. But here's where things got messy. An indie screenwriter came forward online, claiming that her script had been circulating in Hollywood for years before mysteriously being reworked into the very film Blake was now starring in. Surprisingly, mainstream media outlets like Deadline, Variety, and The Hollywood Reporter didn't touch the story. Back then, questioning A-listers was practically off limits, which could explain why this controversy barely made headlines.
Blake Lively is caught in old footage, revealing that yes, her secret plan is to always take control of the movies and lie to the directors to get it.
But here's where it gets even more suspicious. Old interview footage resurfaced, showing Blake openly bragging about taking over projects from directors and producers as if it were an accomplishment. A little digging confirmed that not only was she the lead actress in The Husband's Secret, but she also somehow secured an executive producer title. And if you know Hollywood, you know that many celebs slap executive producer on their resume, not because they actually contribute behind the scenes, but because it looks good and elevates their industry status.
I wanted to be a part of the storytelling, that I wanted to be a part of the narrative, whether that be in the writing, in the costume design, in creating the character. When I went in the meetings, I would just seem like I'm just there to be the actor and ready to get the gig. I wouldn't reveal that I actually need to have authorship in order to feel fulfilled. So I think that for them, sometimes that might have felt like a rug pull, because you're like, you're trying to assert yourself into something that we didn't hire you to do.
Even without hard proof, this fits a troubling pattern that people have been calling out for years. Blake allegedly benefiting from other people's work. And there's no place where this was more evident than on the set of Gossip Girl, where her manipulative tactics left her co-stars dealing with all the fallout. One of her first victims, Penn Badgley. Before he even had a chance to settle into his role, Blake had reportedly been spreading rumors behind the scenes, convincing the cast to freeze him out. Not because he did anything wrong, but simply because she didn't like him. It took weeks before the rest of the cast realized Penn was actually a good guy, but by then, the damage had already been done. And in a shocking twist, after 3 years of dating, Blake dumped Penn and quickly moved on to Ryan Reynolds.
My path towards satisfaction and happiness and contentment, if I've achieved it, which is, of course, it's like you're not always there, but I have a sense of peace and well-being that I did not have. For me, it was through understanding what is making me despair. If I can't name what will make me happy, maybe I can name what is making me sad.
But here's where things take an even messier turn. After Blake Lively married Ryan Reynolds, her influence in Hollywood skyrocketed, with producers seemingly treating her like royalty. And unfortunately for Penn Badgley, that shift may have come at a cost. His career took a major hit. Rumors suggest that many people in the industry quietly blacklisted him, not because of anything he did, but simply because Blake was no longer on good terms with him. Sound familiar? It should, because a nearly identical situation seems to have played out with Justin Baldoni and the cast of It Ends With Us. After leaked messages between Blake and Justin surfaced, fans became convinced that her interactions with Baldoni were less about personal feelings and more of a strategic power move. When he didn't align with her plans, she allegedly started acting like a bitter ex, subtly making things difficult for him behind the scenes.
Well, one thing Blake Lively loves to do is tell on herself. So in a newly resurfaced interview from 2009 in Glamour magazine, Blake Lively opened up about how she tried to poison the cast of Gossip Girl against Penn Badgley. So we now know that she had Mr. Armie Hammertime fired from Gossip Girl after just 4 episodes, and now it appears she tried to do the same thing to Penn Badgley. Apparently she wasn't too pleased with Mr. Badgley when he was first cast. She didn't like the choice, so she tried to taint the rest of the cast against him, but once they realized what a good guy he was, she realized that she lost the battle. Funny enough, she ended up dating Penn Badgley later on.
And just like with the Gossip Girl cast, it wasn't long before her It Ends With Us co-stars, including Brandon Sklenar and even the film's author, Colleen Hoover, began distancing themselves from her. Allegedly, they finally saw the bigger picture and realized that they too had been manipulated. But trust me, if you think Penn had it bad, wait until you hear what Blake allegedly did to Leighton Meester. On screen, they played inseparable besties, but behind the scenes, their dynamic was reportedly more like oil and water.
Another promise was no pet monkey. Chuck has a matching pet monkey with coordinating outfits, and I was like, I would love to be part of the show, but I can't act with a monkey. And then I got a few of them.
Needs to be put down.
You got a few of them.
Come on, it was a joke.
Then there's Armie Hammer, who played Gabriel on Gossip Girl. While he never outright said it, he strongly implied that Blake Lively was the reason he left the show early. And honestly, at this point, is anyone even surprised?
Who was the biggest diva on set?
Biggest diva on set of Gossip Girl.
You can say it because it's so far away from where you are now. That show's over. I suggest that you do not pass on another question.
By the way. Thank you, Chelsea.
I wish I could take all of my passes back and use them all right now. Yeah. Wow. Let me just say that was a tough show to film, and I didn't end up actually filming all of the episodes I was supposed to because it was such a tough film.
Really? Literally, you said, get me out of this.
It was also like, get him out of here. Yeah,
oh, really?
Yeah.
So it just literally was that. Whose love interest were you?
I was Blake Lively's love interest.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay, well then.
Sounds like she was the problem.
It sure does, Chelsea.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Don't put words into his mouth.
Yes. Because my foot is already there.
No, it is not.
No, yeah, continue. Sorry, it's your show.
No, please, you continue. I'm interested in what you... No, I like
Sorry.
it.
I need another drink.
And when it comes to Blake Lively's biggest diva moments, we have to talk about her feud with Anna Kendrick, because this one was a complete circus. During the press tour for A Simple Favor, the tension between Blake and Anna was unbearable. So thick you could cut it with a knife. One of the film's producers even admitted that Blake was impossible to work with, while Blake, being Blake, reportedly accused Anna of stealing the spotlight during promotions. But fans weren't having it, with many reacting like, girl, please.
Do you block people ever?
No, I've muted some people. Now that it's a function on Twitter and Instagram, there is a couple people that I have muted.
Good.
Yeah. Blake
You can mute people on Instagram?
Yeah, it's a new feature.
And just so we're clear, these are only a few of the many receipts exposing Blake Lively's long history of questionable behavior. But trust me, this isn't even the wild part. Her skeletons are tumbling out and it's getting messier by the second. But don't think Ryan Reynolds is off the hook, because his closet is just as packed with drama. From underhanded Hollywood moves to shady business deals, the receipts are finally coming out. And guess what? Some of your fave celebs, who have stayed silent for years, are finally spilling the tea. Brace yourselves, because by the time we're done, you'll be absolutely shocked.
Cue the music. I'm not some Hollywood director that decided to jump on the comic book bandwagon. I'm a pretty hardcore fan. 400 a month habit. Deadpool is a very grounded comic book hero. He lives in a apartment and he deals with people, and his life is not filled with chrome and fast jets and everything else. In fact, I think it's kind of the perfect contrast to the shinier sides of the Marvel Universe.
Let's talk about Tim Miller, the original director of Deadpool, who made it very clear that he walked away from the franchise because of Ryan Reynolds. If you always thought of Ryan as just a funny, lovable guy, Tim's version of events paints a much different picture. According to reports, Ryan Reynolds took complete control of Deadpool, treating it like his personal project while pushing aside Tim's creative input. Word on the street is that Ryan wanted full authority over everything: the script, scenes, tone, and overall direction. The moment Tim tried to push back, Ryan reportedly gave him an ultimatum: my way or the highway. Eventually, Tim Miller walked away from the project, later telling Mental Health magazine, "I don't mind having a debate, but if I can't win, I don't want to play. You can't negotiate every creative decision. There are too many to make. Ryan is the face of the franchise and the most important component by far, so if he wants control, he's going to take it." With a Hollywood heavyweight like Ryan Reynolds calling the shots, Tim saw no room for compromise and decided to leave.
I think that Ryan Reynolds, Kate thinks he hates. Kate thinks he's super frenemy with me, or even just that he hates me. I could see him hating me. But
According to TJ Miller, Ryan Reynolds didn't just mess with him for fun. This wasn't some friendly, behind-the-scenes banter. Instead, Ryan straight up humiliated him on set, with no punchline attached. TJ claims he never even understood why Ryan had a problem with him, especially since he was just a side character in the franchise. But after reflecting on it, TJ came to a conclusion. It was all about Ryan's ego. He wasn't just playing the lead in Deadpool. He wanted everyone on set to know he was the biggest star in the room.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So he was like, what's great about you, Weasel? You're not the star, but you just, you do just enough exposition that it's funny, and then we can leave and get back to the real movie.
So he's riffing.
Well, he's right.
And if you thought Ryan Reynolds only clashed with the guys on set, think again, because his leading lady didn't escape the drama either. Morena Baccarin, who played Vanessa, the literal love interest in Deadpool, went from being a central character in the first film to being practically erased in the sequel. But was this just a creative decision? According to industry whispers, her real-life fallout with Ryan had everything to do with it. Apparently, things got tense behind the scenes, and after that, Morena wasn't just sidelined in the movie, she was frozen out in real life too. As for what caused the fallout, no one's dropping receipts, but the rumors suggest it could have been a dispute over her shrinking role, or maybe she pushed back against some of Ryan's jokes that didn't sit well with her. Either way, it seems like challenging Ryan in his own franchise is the quickest way to get ghosted. When Deadpool and Wolverine started trending, Morena was nowhere to be seen in the promo wave. Even at the premiere, she stood alone while the rest of the cast gathered around Ryan, smiling like nothing ever happened. Yeah, that silence, it was loud.
Looks like a pattern is emerging as I found this blind item from July of 2024 stating that Ryan Reynolds completely iced out his co-star, Morena Baccarin, I think it is, and she was not included in any of the promotion for Deadpool and Wolverine. And when you think back to it, yeah, she wasn't. And if you look at the red carpet photos, she's pictured all alone by herself, not with any of the other cast. Just like what Blake did to Justin. So I wonder what the disagreement was there. I wonder if she was questioning some of the jokes in the movie. And of course, Ryan's ego couldn't take it. I'm sure there's some ironclad NDA in there. We'll never know what happened. But the promos and the videos don't lie. She wasn't in any of them with the cast. She was all alone by herself. I'm just hoping she wasn't sent to the basement.
Honestly, this whole situation feels eerily similar to what happened with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni during It Ends With Us. Because when this power couple runs the show, you either play along. Ryan's harsh behavior didn't stop with his Deadpool co-stars and crew. Even reality TV stars have had their own run-ins with him, and they're not staying quiet about it. During an episode of Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen, the cast of Jersey Shore was asked a question that usually gets danced around. Who's the rudest celebrity you've ever met? Most stars either laugh it off or give a diplomatic answer, pretending that everyone in Hollywood is a saint. But not this time. At first, Sammy's sweetheart Giancola tried to keep things light, dodging the question. But before she could even blink, Dina Cortese went full unfiltered and straight up dropped the name Ryan Reynolds.
I truly love him. I love his wife. I love his wife.
Him, but he was rude.
Who? Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, was not great to us.
Oh, it was Ryan Reynolds.
Oh no! I love Ryan Reynolds still. Like I truly love Ryan Reynolds still, and I love Blake Lively. So when he like didn't want to be by us.
It seems like no one is safe from Ryan Reynolds' alleged behavior, not even rising A-listers. Some actors have been so traumatized by their experiences that they refuse to name names, instead sharing horror stories and letting fans connect the dots.
Come in the form of something very warm and wet that probably go down my leg.
I'm not even gonna You see whether or not I'm blushing right now, because I have a massive girl crush on you. Just have to say, I've seen you in that.
Do you?
Well, do you know that?
What? I don't know what to say.
Oh, you don't look at her little face.
One example, Rebecca Ferguson. Rebecca recently opened up about a nightmare co-star who made her life miserable on set. She didn't need to name names, because the way she described it, pure chaos. This person was so deep in their own insecurities that they couldn't even deliver their lines properly. And instead of handling their struggles privately, they took it all out on Rebecca, screaming at her in front of the entire crew, calling her a terrible actress, and completely humiliating her like it was normal conversation. But here's the plot twist. Rebecca didn't just take the abuse. She clapped back hard. One day, she had enough. She looked this person dead in the eye and told them to get off her set. And to make it even better, she flat out said she'd rather act with a tennis ball than deal with their dusty, toxic energy. Now that is how you reclaim your power.
I did a film with an absolute idiot of a co-star. And this human being was being so insecure and angry because this person couldn't get the scenes out. And I think I was so vulnerable and comfortable that I got screamed at. But because this person was number one on a call sheet, there was no safety net for me. So no one had my back. And I would cry walking off set. This person would literally look at me in front of the whole crew and say, "You call yourself an actor, this is what I have to work with. What is this?" And I stood there just breaking. This happens. And I remember the next day I walked on and I said, "You get off my set." This is the first time I've ever spoken. I remember being so scared.
Yes.
And I looked at this person and I said, "You can F off. I'm going to work towards a tennis ball. I never want to see you again." And then I remember the producers came up and said, "You can't do this to number one. We have to let this person be on set." And I said, "But the person can turn around and I can act to the back head."
Wow.
And I did.
The way Rebecca Ferguson reclaimed her power, absolutely iconic. After her story went viral, Hollywood took notice. A-list actors, including Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, came through to show support. And even some of her former co-stars reached out like, "Girl, we knew you were dealing with this, but this is wild." Now, Rebecca never revealed the mystery actor's name, but she did make one thing clear. It wasn't Tom Cruise or Hugh Jackman. And while she never explicitly called out Ryan Reynolds, plenty of fans still put him on the suspect list based on his messy Hollywood history. But here's the thing, Rebecca isn't the only one who seems to have quietly distanced themselves from Ryan. Even his so-called Hollywood besties are keeping their distance, and the biggest switch-up has got to be Jake Gyllenhaal.
Know you have an ongoing feud with Ryan.
Who?
You know that guy. What's it gonna take for him to actually be BFFs with you?
Well, I mean, in truth, there was a time in which we were.
And that opportunity has passed.
As everybody knows, Instagram had its way with our friendship.
Any words for Ryan, seeing as the next time we talk to him, he will be seeing that?
I have nothing to say to him.
Remember when Jake and Ryan were practically inseparable after filming Life? They were giving bromance goals, doing interviews together, hitting red carpets side by side. It was a whole thing. And then, radio silence. Jake, who is usually super tight with his friends, has been actively ignoring Ryan's existence, which raises some serious red flags. Something clearly went down behind the scenes. And trust me, the awkward tension between Ryan and Jake is just the tip of the iceberg, because at this point, Ryan's entire Hollywood reputation is one giant red flag. Directors and producers are legit hesitant to work with him, and by now, y'all probably already know why. He has a habit of steamrolling creative boundaries and turning every project into the Ryan Reynolds show. And now, with the Baldoni versus Lively situation heating up, Jake seems to be in full support of Justin Baldoni, putting the last nail in the coffin on his friendship with Ryan. If there was any hope of a reconciliation before, this might have just sealed their fallout for good.
Ryan Reynolds brought in 45 Marvel actors for Deadpool and Wolverine, but one thing that shocked a lot of people is he wanted Scarlett Johansson in the movie. Many people forget is there was a time from 2008 to 2011 where Scarlett Johansson and Ryan Reynolds were married. They got divorced after Ryan Reynolds finished filming Green Lantern, where he met his second wife Blake Lively, and many people have assumed he cheated on Scarlett Johansson with Blake Lively while filming. Before getting divorced, they both joined Marvel, with Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool in X-Men Origins 2009. A year later in 2010, Scarlett Johansson would join the MCU playing Black Widow in Iron Man 2. The characters of Deadpool and Black Widow are close, where in some of the comics the two actually have a relationship together. At the time, they couldn't share a screen together because Fox owned the rights to Deadpool and the MCU was owned by Disney. In 2019, Disney bought Fox for $72 billion and got the rights to Deadpool. Many believe that Scarlett Johansson asked to be killed off in Avengers Endgame because she didn't want to later on share a screen with Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds, for the beginning of Deadpool and Wolverine, had a script which would have united the original 6 Avengers, including Scarlett Johansson. It would have happened if Robert Downey Jr. didn't say no because of being Dr. Doom.
But if anyone knows about Ryan's insecurities, it's his ex-wife, Scarlett Johansson. Their marriage just so happened to fall apart right when Scarlett's career skyrocketed, landing her massive roles in Iron Man 2 and the Avengers. On the rare occasions that Scarlett has hinted at what went wrong, she's made one thing clear: there will always be a more successful person in a marriage. But the issue? Ryan never wanted to be the less successful one. But here's the thing, this insecure label isn't just coming from one place. It keeps following Ryan from his co-stars, to his directors, to his exes. And at some point, you have to ask yourself, if so many people are saying the same thing, can they all be lying? At this point, it's hard to ignore the signs. On the surface, Blake and Ryan play the role of Hollywood's perfect couple. But behind the scenes, the math isn't mathing. From shady career moves to messy relationship drama, the cracks in their carefully curated image are starting to show. And Hollywood, it's no longer looking the other way. Please stay tuned by liking and subscribing. Thanks for watching, guys.